Hello everyone, my name is Tamer Memkij and welcome to my midterm presentation for the course Brain, Mind, Teaching and Learning at Ramapo College. This is a presentation on the course content that we've been learning to this point in the course and the implementation of it in the design of a lesson. So many of my colleagues are teachers and are teaching younger learners, and they're applying the content that we've been learning to the design of their lesson. However, I'm a technology administrator in my district. I don't get to teach young learners. I teach teachers by doing PD workshops. So I'm actually applying the same content that we've been learning and to my PD lesson designs, and one of the lessons that I'm currently designing for a PD workshop is using Smoothwall Classroom Manager in the classroom. And I'm applying this content to our adult learners. So my target audiences are 6th through 12th grade teaching staff. We have a one-to-one initiative that we're starting in my district, and it's going to be from our 6th to 12th grade, so this is going to really address the teaching staff that are dealing with that initiative. Teachers that are currently using Google Classroom as their learning management system, and teachers that are using Chromebooks as part of their classroom lessons are all going to benefit from this lesson. Our objective is for our attendees to gain skills to better manage their digital classrooms, to be more confident with the available tools that we have for them to monitor their students and keep their students focused during the classes that they teach, and to use the Classroom Manager product to help improve student focus and engagement while they're using Chromebooks during their class time. So the big idea behind this lesson is, why is it important to keep students focused in the classroom? And when we take a look at some more of the essential questions that back that big idea, we can see things such as, how can we help keep students engaged in our lessons? What does it mean to be a good digital citizen? And does a well-managed classroom lead to greater student success? These essential questions are going to help to back the importance of the lesson by creating a relatable relationship between the lesson and our audience attending. To assess how successful this lesson is going to be, we're doing this in 3 ways. The first is that we are conducting a survey and a self-assessment at the end of the lesson, where we're going to ask the attendees to really rate the lesson and how the PD workshop was for them, as well as how they can implement this tool into their classes. We're going to take a look at them actually implementing this tool by doing some class visits post-workshop and seeing how that is going for them and how they're utilizing this lesson in their classroom. And then we're asking our attendees to turnkey this lesson as well to other members in their department who may have not had the opportunity to attend this workshop. So by doing that, we're going to get a good idea of how many people actually are using this product that didn't attend the workshop, and that's going to give us a good idea of how successful we are there. Teaching strategies. How can we engage all of our attendees in our lesson? So the first thing we're going to do right out of the box is we're going to create some sense and meaning. It is important for our attendees to understand that this, not just to use the product, but why is it important? Why is it beneficial to them? So we're going to have a discussion on some of the challenges that they're facing in their classroom when it comes to utilizing Chromebooks and the students' utilization of Chromebooks during the classroom. And we expect some of our teachers will say something along the lines of, my students tend to play games when they should be working. I give out assignments on the Chromebook and I walk around, but I have a lot of students that kind of get distracted. And so we're going to talk about how this product that we're teaching in the lesson is going to address those challenges. By doing that, we're creating a relationship between the challenges that they're facing in the classroom with the actual product that we're teaching in the lesson, and that's going to create some good sense and meaning for them because it's going to help to address those challenges in their classroom. Using primacy and residency. We know that the first few minutes of any lesson are very critical, so right out of the box, we're creating that meaning, and we're going to do a formal overview of the product that we're teaching in this lesson. We're going to go through how to use the product, how to access the product, and how to implement it in their classrooms right out the box with a formal presentation, and we're going to give them all the steps that they need to actually use the product. Then we're going to slow the lesson down a little by getting into groups, and we're going to get hands-on. We're going to ask all of our attendees to participate in this group activity where they will take on different roles. So some of our attendees will be students in a virtual classroom, and some of our attendees will be teachers in a virtual classroom, and then they'll swap up roles, and it'll give them a good hands-on experience with the actual product and how to use the product. And then at the very end, we're going to review the product again and how to use the product and the steps that we've gone over in the beginning, as well as how to address the challenges that they're facing in their classroom with the product, and we're going to ask them to complete that self-assessment that we talked about in our assessments. To attack multiple intelligence and the different learning styles that are going to be in the room, we have a few different things that we are implementing. So we have our opening questions, and we have our getting into groups, and we have our collaborating with each other on the hands-on activities. That's going to really spark those who have the interpersonal skills. They're gonna have to talk to each other, work with each other, and those are gonna help those people as well as those linguistic people when they're formulating their questions and their ideas throughout the lesson. We have our presentation and demonstration portion of the lesson, which is going to help those visual learners by actually showing them visually how to use the product. And then we have handouts and guides that we're handing out for those learners that are more intrapersonal and tend to do better working on their own. We've also developed different acronyms to help remember key points of the lesson. So one acronym we developed was CASE, Connect, Access, Sync, and Educate, which are the 4 steps to actually implementing the product that we're teaching in the lesson into the classroom. And by doing things like creating acronyms, we're attacking those learners that are musical and logical. So we used our TPAC planning guide to come up with some of the technologies that we can use in this lesson. So we are using the projector and in the classroom that's available to us, and we're creating a presentation, and we're going to do that to address those visual learners that are going to benefit from actually seeing a formal presentation as well as a demonstration. And this is something that we believe is going to be beneficial to those who are more of a visual learner, and it falls into the first level of the SAMR model, the substitution level, because this is really something that we could do without having to use the projector in presentation. We can do some handouts and do some whiteboarding activities, but because we have those technologies available to us in the room, we're going to use them. And we're also going to share that presentation with the different people that are attending, as well as make it available to those who are not attending. We're using Google Classroom, Drive, and Chromebooks, so the digital tool that we're teaching in this lesson requires the use of Google Classroom and Chromebooks. So without using that, we can't really teach this lesson, so that really makes that technology fall into the modification level, because we need to use those technologies to supplement the actual lesson, the technology that we're teaching in the lesson. And then we actually have the digital tool that we're teaching. So Smoothwall Classroom Manager is a digital tool that allows our teachers to monitor and keep an eye on the screens of their students while they're in their classroom. It helps our teachers to manage their digital classroom, as well as push links and different websites to the student devices. And if a student is getting unfocused or distracted, it allows them to lock that student's screen and get them refocused. So this is a tool that without this tool, it would be impossible to do those tasks. And because it would be impossible to do those tasks and manage those student screens, this tool and the utilization of this tool really falls into the redefinition layer of that SAMR model. So how does all this tie into the brain research we've been doing? So we know that sensory input is very important to our learners, and many senses are going to be stimulated during this lesson. We have things like the presentations and the demonstrations, which are going to stimulate the visual senses and the hearing senses, where senses such as touch and movement are being stimulated during the hands-on portion of the lesson. A great way to stimulate some sensory is by asking our attendees to reteach this lesson to other people, and that is what we're doing with our turnkey request of our attendees. So we're going to ask our attendees to take this content and take it back to those who could not attend the lesson, and that's going to help them to generate some good sensory input. So we have our cerebral lobes. We know that there are 4 lobes, and the frontal lobe is going to be stimulated throughout the lesson as you are constantly thinking and you're using your motor skills, as well as you're speaking throughout the lesson. There's group activities and collaboration portions where you're speaking, so that frontal lobe is going to be utilized then. We have our temporal lobe, and this is the lobe that all the auditory processing is occurring, all the hearing is occurring, so all the spoken parts of the lecture and all the demonstration parts where I will be speaking will be processed in the temporal lobe. We have our parietal lobe, which is the location of the sensory cortex. So all the sensory input that we talked about before is going to be processed here. Things like touch and movement during the hands-on portion of the lesson are going to be processed there. And then we have our occipital lobe, which is where all the visual processing occurs in our visual cortex. So actually seeing the product being used, actually seeing the demonstrations and reading the content in the presentation is all going to be processed there. So As these lobes are processing all the different information throughout the lesson, neurons are firing off and there's some brain plasticity occurring there. We're hoping that you're going to create those relationships through all the different sensory input that's happening in your brain, and you're going to create some memory that you'll then be able to take that memory and apply it in your in-class lessons and apply the use of this technology. That is the hope. So I want to thank you for listening in. If you have any questions in regards to this presentation, you can find me at Twitter at edtechtamer. You can email me edtechtamer@gmail.com, or you can visit the website www.edtechtamer.com, where you'll find that I posted this presentation, some notes that go along with this presentation, my works cited, and all the other work and content I've been working on while I've been pursuing my master's in educational technology degree. Thank you again.